I felt like a Spanish, like a Puerto Rican in this hair.
Hey, welcome to Beyond the Porch, Dadalogues Unfiltered. My name is Cody Lancaster, and joining me is...
Krich. Nice to meet everybody.
Dadalogues. We're unfiltered, candid. This is going to be a fun podcast that gets into the highs and lows of fatherhood. We're going to talk about being a dad. Some thoughtful conversations. You know, being a dad, you got to navigate some challenging things in parenthood.
Very fair.
We got the digital age that, you know, we grew up with cell phones coming into the world, and now our kids have them almost every day.
Yeah.
Or almost have cell phones.
Not mine.
So, you know, this podcast, we want to kind of dig into, you know, the evolution, you know, exploring things such as the evolution of manliness. You know, talk about dad talk, right? It's some relatable topics. Discipline, you know, how do you mix that with fun? Reflecting the milestones in the life that matter. Discussing the joys and changes in life. You know, talking about family. Debate over a grill. You know, and there's a lot of grilling topics we can go into. I want to get some deep conversations. You know, faith, masculinity. Let's just laugh over some dad moments. This show's going to try to make a fresh perspective on what it really means to be a dad today, and how happiness spins into that. So, I want to thank you for joining us.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Fellow dad here.
Pour a little drink.
Yeah, man. I'm always down. Buffalo Trace is some good whiskey, dude. Not bad at all.
So this is our first episode. This is our first time even recording.
Yeah, very first. I'm excited, dude. I watch a lot of podcasts and whatnot. That being said, never thought I would maybe be a part of one, but all the podcasts that are popular, to my knowledge, is, you know, from people of a higher standard. You don't get the blue collar average Joe guy. You know, let's see if we can get this cracked open without making too much ruckus.
That's the sound of a dad.
Yeah.
If I had to define a dad in a lawnmower moment, it'd be the cracking of the beer.
That's it, man.
So we're gonna get a lot of hate from watering this good Buffalo Trace down with some ginger ale.
I don't care. I had stomach ulcers. Everybody can kiss my ass. I got to dilute my liquor.
So, but hey, cheers to making this happen. And what makes this a special moment is we have been trying to. I have been wanting to make a podcast since COVID hit.
Right on.
When Trump was in presidency, I said, "Hey, let's start a podcast," and I bought equipment to make a podcast.
Yeah, I see that, dude. Nice stuff.
It's gotten set up, and then it collected dust during the term of Biden.
Sure.
So I've won a whole presidency trying to make a podcast, and I couldn't pull the trigger because I wanted it to be perfect. I wanted the lights to be perfect. I wanted the cameras to be perfect. I've wanted the audio to be perfect, and well.
Here we are, imperfect as ever, baby.
Right.
Just as a dad is supposed to be.
Right. You know, you spend so much time trying to be perfect as a dad, right?
Oh, man, a lot, dude. A lot. And then you fall short, and maybe I don't speak for everyone, but me personally, I overthink things and beat myself up a bunch. You know, did I make the right call on this decision? And then you're stuck with, well, you can't go back, so you got to live with it. And I don't know, dude. It's a tussle. What do you think?
You know, it's challenging. We each have our kids who we want to be the best,
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
You hear a lot of people saying, you want to live through your kids. And we'll go into the challenges of my childhood and kind of compare, you know, each of us have different perspectives on how we are a dad, what made us a dad, and compare those. And I don't know, do we just go ahead and just jump into the personal stuff?
Dude. Well, may as well. I mean, it's going to happen eventually.
So, I have two kids. I have a boy and a girl. And I'm going to talk about the blood, right? Yeah. That are both mine. And then your story is
Yeah, no. So I have 2 boys, 9 and 2. Oldest boy is not my biological. Since you brought it up, don't ever mention anything any different. But met him when he was 3. Me and his mother dated, I guess you would say, off and on, whatever you want to call it, and for a hot minute, and made sure that we was on the same page before I filled those shoes. And filled those shoes I've tried to do. Sure, fair. Probably didn't do them at some points, but we're still trying. That's probably the biggest part of being a dad is you just got to keep trying. Nobody's going to nail it on the first one.
And I think what makes that special to me is I was not raised by a biological dad. Matter of fact, I have no idea who my biological dad is.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously existed at some point in time. I tried to find him, and I think I used some DNA research tools to locate, like, my last name is Sproles, supposedly, if I was related to him.
Lancaster rolls off the tongue much better,
Yeah.
if I may.
Somewhere out in the western side of Virginia, northeast Tennessee area, and I was able to locate it pretty close. But it is what it is. Like, here it is, like 40 years later, you call someone up and said, "Hey, I think you're my dad."
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
yeah, and
but it's not fair to even call them that, right? Sperm donor.
Yeah. No, I've heard that term.
Because being a dad is who raised me. So my father, who'd passed away a few years ago, he's who raised me, even though I wasn't his. And so I think that's where we relate in a sense of, I can see your son's viewpoint of who you are as his dad, because I lived that life. I now have my own, and then you get to serve both, just like my dad did.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, kudos, man. I appreciate it. And go back to what I was saying is as a dad, whether biological or unbiological, 2-year-old is mine. Full credit on me. I'm making that happen, and mama too. But you try and you fall short, and I've said it before, and I'll die on the hill. It's easy to be the parent, if I may quote on your dad, who maybe did bounce out and didn't take that responsibility. That's easy, and it's easy to be there and take the responsibility, but not necessarily fill the shoe and tote the burden of it. It's easy to let your kids do whatever the fuck they want to do. It's hard to correct them. It's hard to tell them no. It's hard to not get them the toy when they want it. It's hard to hurt their feelings. But that being said, you got to do it, and that's what separates the good and bad. And now whether it makes it easy or not,
right?
That's the question.
So it's I think, and I guess I want to break into this episode. I think we want to talk about who we are, as we've started to, and I want to get into what I call the dad starter pack. Things you thought about, what you knew of being a dad versus reality. And I want to pull that perspective of, you walked into your relationship with your current wife, not knowing what a dad's supposed to be, or as a dad yourself.
Starting 3 years behind.
Yeah.
May I mind you.
So you kind of got like an instant dad type aspect, and then you got to have your own. So we can dig into that. Myself, I came into it as, will I ever be a dad? Struggling to have my first kid, and then having a second one after some other issues. So I want to go into do some of those, like, what the fun is of that, and diapers and things. Then I want to go into a topic of, am I the fun parent or the enforcer? It seems like we're one or the other a lot of times. Next one, kind of get into the digital age. Some quick topics on screen time.
A strong subject with me, man. It's real strong.
And then it kind of this last topic, a boy and his dad, milestones that matter, reflecting on how dads shape their kids and the lessons they teach their dads in return. Because I think I've learned a lot about being a dad from being a dad.
Dude, yeah, no, that's heavy. That's a deep subject. Not gonna have to wear my boots for that one, for sure.
So anyway, we've kind of touched about who and what's made us a dad, and then let's get into some of the deeper stuff. So walking into that, if you don't mind me digging into that a little bit,
Absolutely.
so you're still a kid at heart, like most of us
for
were,
sure.
getting into our
For
first
sure.
relationships. And then,
That'd be 23 years old. 23
Yeah.
when I met him, 23, 24. Somewhere in there.
being a dad wasn't on your topic of
No,
what I'm planning on doing.
No. Chasing tail and having a good time was was what I was doing at the time, and that's just the God's honest truth. Full transparency with my wife and everything at the time as well, or soon to be. But no, it's a lot. It's working on 30 years old this year. Never planned much, but it just works out, dude. And you end up doing things when you least expect them and when they're not planned. At least that's how it's went for me.
Right. So when you're like, I got married and then we had kids, and I was getting scared. But like, so how does it feel right before, like, hey, I'm getting in this relationship and hey, there's a kid?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I would say in my situation exactly, it wasn't a surprise because my wife,
Right.
I say my wife at the time, of course she wasn't, but Kendall is her name, my wife. Working on 4 years this year. Lord help me if I'm wrong, but 4 years, I believe. She was fully transparent. She's like, I got a kid, this and that, this situation. Here we go. And I'm not sure who brought it up first, but, going back to what I said earlier, I was like, oh, let's pump the brakes. Don't want to meet him. Don't know if this is going to work. Don't want to get, in and out.
Kind of wanted to respect that boundary.
Yeah, for sure. Because
don't want
that
to get
in and
close
out.
to them or to create a relationship and then be
absolutely.
like,
well, the in and out stuff can't be healthy for anyone. I mean, how many times have you met somebody and y'all kind of were friends for a week or two and then you lost touch, or you're friends for long term and then lose touch, and then even that hurts. And then your father figure add to that. That's got to be a little bit more detrimental, I would imagine.
Did you experience that as a kid?
No, I don't think so. I mean, now mom split with pops when I was, I don't know, before I was probably walking too good or a little after. So, but then she hooked up with the dude that she left my dad for, and then he's still around.
Right.
That being
So like
said,
that was meant to be for them.
it seems like it. So I never had the guy bouncing in and out, new guy every week story.
But
Never
you also
that.
you had someone who wasn't your biological there to
True.
kind of raise and support too. So like as you being a young 20s dad, you were like, okay, confidence was there to say, hey, I had somebody do this for me.
Yeah.
So if I had to step in those shoes, you had an example of how to do that already.
Well, and a fine one of how not to do it. So,
yeah, good way to look at it.
And even that being said is, if I may touch on this for a second, is when you do make the mistakes of being a dad, is you can't just necessarily beat yourself up. Even when you did make the wrong choice, admit your wrongs. And then, maybe when your boy grows up, he don't make that same wrong. It's a learning thing.
Right.
Teach both ways. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff.
There's a quote, and I don't know the quote, so I'm going to mess this up. But it's like one thing's, what is wisdom? Is wisdom from when you learn from your mistakes, and knowledge is when you learn from someone else's mistakes.
I like it.
But there's something better. There's like 3 words.
Oh, I'm sure it's churched up real good.
Yeah,
slick.
right. So, and then there's the idiot who doesn't learn from either one of them or something. There's some kind of way it spins. But, we look at it as like growing up, and you learn something. Like my dad, I thought it was a piece of crap when I was a kid. As I got older, I realized, I grew up, I was an adult, so I realized who and what him as a figure was, what he taught, what he did. He went to work every day. And then you realize, gosh, he just wanted to come home, drink a beer, watch a Braves game.
Yeah, and just chill. Yeah.
And just relax.
Yeah, get ready for work tomorrow.
Hey, he's bringing the bread home. Majority of the bread, my mom worked too, but he brought majority of the bread home.
I can relate to that. Heavy. Even in this past week. Yeah, for sure.
And he just wanted to relax. Yeah. And he didn't want to listen to the rah, 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 rah all day and all night. And he wasn't a romantic person. So like women have needs, those need to be filled too. And so I guess when that stuff doesn't fit, it creates tension and chaos. So I lived in chaos as a kid, and then I hated my parents for the chaos. I wanted to get away, so I left at 16, and I grew up too fast. So like I bring my wisdom and knowledge from growing up too fast. And then as an adult, I had a better relationship with my dad once I realized what being an adult meant. And it changed my whole perspective in life. And that relationship changed as an adult. I had a better relationship with my dad as an adult than I did as a kid.
Same. I kind of grew up thinking my dad was an asshole, bitter old man, always just on my ass about everything.
And now you're the one telling your kid to cut the lights off.
Now I'm on my boy, like
flush the toilet.
Yeah, man, dude, stay
cut the
on
lights
it.
off.
Dude. Because the second you slack up, dude, it's on.
Right? And it's the weird things, like mine leaves the closet light on.
Oh, man. Closet lights, cabinet doors open. Yeah. Propane tanks on the wood stove. Yeah.
That's an interesting story.
Yeah. I guess it's worth telling. Had a pretty bad cold snap down here where we're from, and deep south. Led to a little 1 week hot fire burning. I will say it was below freezing for about 4 days or so. And now my boy's 9. Raised how I was raised on a chicken farm in the South is always something to be done. Chores were never lacking. That being said, I don't try to keep my boy doing the same type of chores at the same time frame, but at the same time, you got to have something. So trash is one, you tote firewood in's another one, and then when you boxes build up, instead of throwing them in the can and, before trash day, you have an overflowing can, we burn them. So he grabs the propane torch like he's done since he was 6, and we got a hot fire going. I'm starting breakfast. He goes, burns boxes, and he walks in the house, and I think nothing the wiser. Been doing it for a couple years. I trust him, However long it was, after he walked in, my wife comes out of the bathroom, and I hear her yell, which struck my attention to the rotten egg smell of propane, know. And I look over, and the little Coleman Camp fuel bottle that we have a little torch tip on is on top of my wood stove, and fire roaring, and it's whistling like a tea kettle. Sides of the propane tank done bulging out a little bit.
So it's hot.
Oh yeah. It's going.
A little thing not in your stomach pops up. You're like, what the heck's about to happen?
It's oh shit. It's really oh shit. And now if you ask my wife, it could have took out a city block. But hindsight is what it is. I don't know what it would have done. It might have singed the walls, might have knocked the window out, might have, really, really hurt or killed someone. Point being is it keeps you on your toes. And how I handled it, maybe right or wrong, how my dad would have handled it. I could probably tell you how that would have went. Tried to calm down after the fact, but hindsight is, stupid choices and stupid outcomes. Is you gotta pay attention, dude. You gotta tighten up.
Right.
Can't be that loose. Being loose gets you hurt. And we had a good teaching moment.
It goes back to that wisdom. It's like, what happens when you do something like that. Yeah. Play with fire, you get burned.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was one of those.
Or as I was told, you piss the bed. you play with fire, it's gonna make you piss the bed.
Yeah. And so, and it's like the anger and frustration is because you don't want them to get hurt or to see that. So you're trying to give them the knowledge so they don't have the wisdom.
Yeah.
You're right.
And I think a lot of it too is it hurts your pride at the time, because in this particular instance is if you would have asked me if Jaden Harden would have put a propane torch on a hot wood burning cast iron stove, I'd have said no. That boy's been using a torch for years. And he's been starting fires in that stove for a minute. Yep. Now he's got the sense. And then he proves me wrong. And then I think it's just a strike because you trust them and you think they know better. But then they tell you
see, that goes to one of my sayings that I've really changed my life in some aspects. Emotions are a result of expectation.
Yeah, I like that saying, Cody. That's a good one you got.
And I say that because it plays in any part of your life. You can apply expectations and emotions. So if you think of any time that you've got mad and you try to match what was my expectation to the event, from anything is like you're going to go to the store with your kids and you're going to go buy milk and you're going to leave. No, that's the expectation. The reality is, you walk in there, they want candy, they're gonna cry,
toys, something.
Yeah, it's always gonna be something, and then you get frustrated, right? So there's always an emotion because your expectation doesn't match.
Yeah.
You know,
And it works out in almost every situation since I've known you. Speaking of, how long have we known each other now, Cody? It's
football season of first fire plug season,
4 years, 2, 3, 3, 4. Yeah. So you've been hammering that for a minute, and stepping into a more professional role in my life, not necessarily a grunt anymore. Is I see it more and more as like you said, you go in there, and if we would have talked about it in the driveway, look, boys, we're going here, we're getting milk. I don't need a word from none of you. And that's what we're going to do. And then now I've set their expectations as well. Yep. Hey, I'm not going to ask Dad because, hey, Dad done told me, And so it works out, every which way. I like it. I like it a lot, Cody.
And I use it because I look at some of my most embarrassing moments, right? But as a coach of a baseball team, you expect the kids to be like being I was in the Marines, so discipline and everybody's going to be acting a certain way, do a certain thing, and like that's how we're going to be a well-oiled machine that's tuned in, and just everybody's acting the same way. And then the reality is, you got a bunch of 7-year-olds in a dugout, throwing Gatorade.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got white and yellow uniforms, and it's like,
what are you gonna do? Yeah.
You look over, and it's like, my son's up to bat, and there's 2 kids, and they're throwing red Gatorade on the white and yellow uniform.
And there's 30 parents per team.
Yes.
Waiting on this thing to be over.
And what do I do?
Yeah.
I blow up.
Yeah.
I scream at the top. Yeah. Lucas calls it the Marine voice. I get the knife hand. I'm like, no, sir.
I correct Lucas and just say it's a dad voice. But I think every dad has that tone.
Now, you wasn't on the team that year because y'all had never played baseball at that point.
Yeah, you're right.
The whole little town of Fairview was silent.
Yeah, rattling windows.
The crickets even stopped chirping.
Yeah.
The insects got scared.
That's it.
And the parents all looked at me, and the ball goes across the plate, and my son misses it. Because he hears me scream as he goes to swing.
Yeah.
And strike 2's getting called. Everybody's looking at me.
What are you going to say, Cody?
What's next?
Yeah.
And then it just we do not do that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I totally ignored my kid to try to scream at a bunch of 7 and 8-year-olds who are acting like 7 and 8-year-olds. And it's like, you can't be mad at a kid for acting like a kid.
No.
The expectation is you got to
got to expect it and be prepared for that.
Right.
Which I fall short in. Let me admit my faults. Yeah, for sure.
So parents that were on my team, I do apologize. That has been a downfall and a learning moment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think I've learned a lot from coaching little kids.
No doubt, dude. I only did it, I guess, helping you last season was my second little roundabout with it. But no, dude, and it translates through life too. If you can manage a team of how many kids we have last year? 10?
Well, 10, that year I had 15.
Oh, bless you. Oh God. Anywho, so even more
12,
so to my point,
12
if you can manage 10 to 15, 7, 8, 9-year-old boys, especially, you can probably go into your workforce and really lead your department.
Sometimes I think it's easier to manage kids than adults.
Yes, yeah. Well, and this is a controversial subject. You could put a fear into a kid. You can't put a fear into a 22-year-old man that's working for a case of beer. You just he has no fear. I can remember when I had none. But having kids definitely takes that immortality away from you quick.
Right. Yeah, and I think I see myself as getting that second subject is I feel like I'm the disciplinary parent, and I get on the field and I'm trying to discipline the kids and treat them like we're a unit in the Marines, or try to make them act like they're adults. And I have to remind myself these are kids, and I think, and it sounds kind of hypocrite because I think in one football season I screamed at a dad because he was making a kid run. like a kindergartner run
Yeah,
because
because
he was
everything
bored.
just real hypocritical on the
we're all
top of the
hypocrites.
fence
All of us
for
are
sure.
hypocrites.
No doubt. Is the way you
It's like
feel
my second
about
embarrassing moment as a
that's
coach.
it. Well, they happen. I had my first embarrassing moment last year, but you're always on the fence. And that's what I was, when we was opening up and going through that is you're always second guessing yourself. No matter what you do, even if you make just the ace decision, you go back and maybe I'm alone, but you lay in bed and you're like, damn, could have told him more, could have told him less. What should I have done?
Right?
Yeah. What's he in there laying in there thinking about? While I'm in here thinking about the same thing. But I don't think you get those answers until later in life when you see what man they become. You keep trying.
I think that's the scariest part is like we're trying to like paint this picture and follow these rules and instructions and open up the manual of how do I make life how do I follow these directions? If I do this, and this, it equals a successful this, and this.
Yeah, and that manual's bullshit, non-existent.
Right? I look back, like look at some of our friends when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
Like we have preachers that set fine examples, great men, great men of God.
100%.
People that you would go to as a teenager,
Still
confide into. You still go to them today.
Still go to.
And they're great people in the community. And they have kids, just like I do. A girl and a boy, for instance. And you're like, one of them turns out to be a successful contributor to the community. And you got the other one who's missing teeth,
just
on
bum.
drugs, on bump.
Whatever.
Like, doesn't make, and it's like, dude, like,
where did I go wrong?
And you look at them as an example. It's like, hey, as they were the people that are supposed to set the example, in a church to show how people should be, and that's a huge pressure on them. And then they have their kids, and I think too many people in this world look at, you must have been a bad parent, and your kid turned out bad.
Yeah.
And we fail to realize that our kids are their own people. They make their own decisions.
For sure. And I think a lot of that thought process, just, 30-year-old speaking, 29, whatever, is in the past however many years it's become a fad to blame your troubles on your raisins. I'm an asshole. Well, my daddy didn't hug me enough.
Right.
Now it's daddy's fault. Well, it's not just because I'm a now. Trust me, I know how to be one of those. And daddy didn't hug me a bunch, but here we are. It's not daddy's fault. Here we are. Now we're grown. We're paying our own bills. It's time to own that responsibility and be the person that I need to be or want to be. And if you want to be an asshole, I guess, great thing about this country is you got that choice.
That's what I struggle with because, like, I feel like I'm the asshole all the time. Hey, get in the bath. Most dads do, I think. Get out of the bath. Brush your teeth. Yeah. Go to bed.
Yeah. Respect your mother. Don't speak back. Do what
Clean this
told.
up. Do that.
Yeah.
And then it's like...
and it compounds, especially over time.
And then you're the bad guy.
Yeah, all the time.
It's like, and...
And mamas can't understand why they still want to go with dad when it's time to get out and get in the truck, It's like, well, you was chewing his butt out last night and you took his PlayStation away. Whatever. Well, then it's like, hey, I'm going to go cut firewood. You ready?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, I'm going.
And I'm just going to throw this out as a note. These are not kid sounds that we've programmed in the board to be.
No.
That's real life. That's life.
Is that mine?
On the other side of the wall?
I think that one's mine.
We've lost track.
Yeah.
I don't know if the wives are screaming, the kids are screaming, or
probably
all
of them at this point.
Yep. But like that's life, and you learn to tune it out.
We just need to fill our glasses and then roll the bottle out. Just here, help yourself.
So go to you're speaking of the bottle, like it's I grew up in what we call an alcoholic relationship.
Sure.
My dad was drunk. I know I drink so now that I'm an adult. I can see it.
No, that just makes it a little easier.
I was a pain in the ass as a
man.
kid.
Yeah.
So was my mom was a pain. But it is. Yeah. Life was a pain. But no, like I seen all these dysfunctional things going on. Like the dare officer at school knew who I was because like him and half the county showed up to my house half the time. Yeah. And today, like if I would have grew up in today's world, I probably would have been in a foster home.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
But I was okay.
Since you brought that up, let me ask you, what's your definition of an alcoholic? Because I was raised with a dad who drank, I'm going to say anywhere between probably 6 to 24 beers a day.
See, my old man was like a Canadian Mist or whatever. It was cheap.
Sure, a little heavier.
And some 7-Up.
A little heavier. But was it in the morning when he woke up? Because, see, let me just explain. The way I was taught is my mother stayed on my daddy real hard about drinking. But my daddy would wake up and never touch it and go to work. God knows how many hours. But when his day was done or winding down, that's when he cracked that beer. And now the beers didn't stop cracking until he was ready for bed. And now, like I said,
that was his
6 to 24. Yeah,
20 years ago, yeah.
And he would say, as I look, I don't wake up shaking. I don't have to have a drink when I wake up in the morning. But some folks will call that just a functional alcoholic.
Right.
So, there's a little misconceptions there with me. So let me ask you your opinion. What defines an alcoholic to you?
See, I see two types. There's the functional and non-functional. My dad was able to go to work, come home, hold a job. The union probably kept his job more than he did, but he worked on aircraft.
No room for error. Yeah,
I'm gonna throw some stories out there. I hope Boeing doesn't listen to this, but back in the '90s in California,
fly Spirit.
Yeah. Well, this is military stuff. It's like he's like, yeah, we were on they were on some hard stuff because they were working long hours, and it's like, hey, we'll hit some of this, and it keeps me going. It's like, okay. I was like, I'm glad those people hopefully aren't making airplanes anymore.
In the late '80s, mind you. Times were different. So I hear.
Right?
So I hear. The good old days, the glory days.
Like I drink and I have my occasional drinks.
Yes.
But I go days, weeks. Like I don't it's not an addiction for me.
Sure.
It's an enjoyment.
Yeah.
Whereas my dad,
more so a hobby, you would say.
Yeah. Sit on the back porch with the sunset, talk.
Would you say that your dad, kind of maybe, let's just say 10 a.m. been there? It's like, damn, I can't wait to get off. Ready for that drink. Ready
looking
for that
back,
4 o'clock,
though,
5 o'clock
I'm not
drink.
surprised if he wasn't drinking on the way to work.
Maybe.
I know when he would come home, he'd be drinking on the way home. At this point in time, you couldn't buy alcohol in Coleman; it was dry, and it's a hard concept to understand. Nowadays, but
yeah.
So he'd work in Birmingham. He'd drive through, stop at Warrior.
He'd fill his
package. He'd fill his cooler up. He'd pop him 1 or 2. Yeah. So he'd probably get like 2 or 3 beers in before he got home. And so,
just pre-gaming.
Yeah. So, but that was a constant, for him, and I think it got to a point where he would, if he didn't have it, he would have medical issues without it.
Gotcha.
So
for sure, dependency.
Yep. So there's strong dependencies.
Yeah.
And so that's something I don't understand, and I have family members with dependencies. We all struggle everybody has demons.
Sugar, coffee.
Yeah, eat too much. I'm not the smallest guy, right?
Yeah.
But we all have our issues, so it's hard to judge people.
No, you don't. At least you should. It's hard not to, but you should.
Right.
Even when you see the old dude jonesing down the street begging for a quarter, you don't know what got him there, man.
Right.
He puts his pants on one leg at a time in the morning, just like everybody else. Or he wears the same ones he had yesterday. Whatever. It don't matter. You shouldn't judge them. Life's cruel, fair, and mean. It is what it is. But no, there's no room for judgment in this world. Too much of it. Sure. Got to humble yourself.
So I'll look at his issues with that. As he got older, he broke his back. He created an addiction to oxy. And so
good old Sackler family got him, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
So then from that point, he had broke his back in a car wreck, probably drinking. And I drive to Mississippi, pick him up. His old minivan's totaled.
Yeah.
He had gambling problems.
Yeah.
He's a real winner. He robbed a bank.
Yeah, I love that story. Love it.
He's on the episode of. I'm sure he's on the episode of like World's Dumbest Criminals. I laugh about it. I mean, I know he's laughing about it upstairs, but he goes in a bank. There's a sign, the banner, and I remember seeing it coming back from Huntsville. You drive up and you see this, like right past the Wabaho, there's a sign out across the road. It's like, hey, this little bank, it's like I think it's a trailer park type bank, like a trailer park. It's like a trailer bank, it's not a full building.
Yeah.
Free money. And
Yeah.
he's got a sense of humor.
He's like, there and get it.
He's like 6'4", walks into the bank, sits his stuff down. And he's like, I want the free money. Guess they thought he had a gun. He was out of his mind. They hand him a sack of money. He leaves his checkbook on the counter, falls on the floor, drives home, and they catch him a few miles from the house.
Oh, he'd have got that checkbook.
And then you read the news article. The sheriff's like, yeah, it was easy. Like the guy left his ID sitting on the counter with his checkbook. What a dummy.
Yeah, don't have a lot of investigation going on.
Yeah. We know exactly who it is.
Yeah, no overtime for the department.
And he didn't deny it. They're not stolen checks. That's not a fake ID. And they didn't find a gun.
Here's your man.
And as a teenager, I shot all his guns. Mm-hmm. I know what type of guns he had. Mm-hmm. And he never had a pistol.
Yeah.
So it was like, but in Alabama, you put your hand in your pocket, it's a felony.
Yeah.
So like, the crazy part is I used to aggravate our neighbor. He'd come over. We were like kids. We're like 10, 12 years old. Mm-hmm. Riding our bikes, coming and he's like, hey, let's go rob the bank.
As well. What's better to do?
It's just a joke. And then I didn't know. It's like, Dad's been planning this for like 10 years.
Yeah.
He's like, he really wanted to do it. Yeah. And he wanted to use me. He is a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And he would have got away for it too if he'd have just planned for 11 instead of 10.
Then I'm like, how many banks did he rob?
Yeah.
Right. We played. We're all playing Grand Theft Auto now, and it's like we do it all the time on Grand Theft Auto. He did it for real, man.
Yeah, he had 15 under his belt, and he got sloppy on the last one. That was it. Yeah.
So
he was going to retire. Yeah.
I look back, and it's like, he was in that dad stage of life where it's like the kids are gone. I was in the Marines.
Yeah.
His daughter and ex was gone. My mom was gone. So he's in a house by himself. One of my best friends at the time lived with him, and that day he's like, "Hey, can I borrow some money?" And he's like, "I don't have anything." Mm-hmm. And so like his mind, like with the oxy, he was so out of it.
Sure. Controversial thought, possibly. Kudos to your dad, though. I mean, obviously, you said that he falls off his rocker and loses his shit when you're in the Marines. So you're 18, 17. 17, 18, 19, yeah. 18, 19. He went 2 decades holding that demon back instead of letting it loose, possibly.
And it's retirement that got him, right? If he would have stayed in his routine working, he'd have been fine.
Maybe so. So, is something to say and maybe hold a little higher standard than the people who didn't hold it together and didn't get to see the kids, make it to adulthood or, whatever reason. So kudos to that. Kudos to the functioning addicts out there. Yeah.
You said we're all just functional addicts in some way.
Yeah,
right?
no doubt.
Nowadays you're either addicted to TikTok, alcohol, drugs.
Lord knows, dude. The Facebook eating. Reels. God, Facebook Reels.
It's easy to go take a shit and before you know it, 30 minutes later, you're like, man, like our brains.
And it's like my wife was like, oh, well, you shouldn't have a glass of whiskey every evening. And I'm thinking, well, I shouldn't spend fucking 4 hours of my day on the cell phone either, but nobody's talking about that.
The worst thing is when you go to your iPhone, you look at how much time you spend on each app and you look at the iPhone.
I don't look at it.
Or the battery app part of it. And it's like, you've spent this percentage of your battery on Facebook.
That's going to put me in a depression. I don't look at that. Not even the slightest.
I think the first time I started putting TikTok and Instagram on my phone, and I started going through Reels. I was like, dude, I put a lot of time of my life in that.
It's mind numbing, dude. And then you know a lot of people, it's ruining this, and they're mad at it, but you can't be mad at it either. It's a business,
right?
And
it's almost like and for us, it's like an escape.
It's an escape.
We say hey, I'm going to disconnect from the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes back to the business. Is like they make it that way. It's like they
algorithms.
They know the dad's stressed. They know the dad's tired, and he just wants to blah for an hour.
I guess that's what scares us with letting our kids use technology, right?
100%. Yeah, no, my kid's not getting anywhere close to getting. He's got a tablet and a PS5, and the PS5 came this past Christmas, and I'm kicking myself in the ass hard. It's too soon. Too soon. He
are you a 2 PS5 family? You got one in the living room, one in the bedroom?
Yeah, but I don't play mine. Got the new what is it? Call of Duty, the new one.
Mine wanted to get the Call of Duty, and like for me, it's like it's I want to get it for me. Yeah. But I'm being too stubborn to give it to him because he's been like an a-hole and didn't want to help me with the dishes and was being a jerk. So I was like, we're not getting it.
Even, and maybe it's the age thing, but it's, I don't enjoy video games like I used to.
Same.
About 15, 30 minutes, 45 minutes into it, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm still just, and I'm getting lost in the maps now that I used to know like the back of my hand, and it's just, can't keep up with the story because you got a kid in this room and a broken dish in the kitchen.
So we've got 10 years difference from us. Yeah. So I'm about to be 40.
Yeah. 85, 95.
Yep.
Hoo.
I grew up with like when Taco Bell had pink triangles for their logo and you ever, those cooler cups reminded me of the Taco Bell logo from back in the day.
They used to have them in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's how I remember them. Yeah. So my nanny spent a lot of time in the hospital. I was raised by my grandparents for the first few, 10 years.
That was the same for me.
Yeah. First 10 years of my life. And I see that meme pop up. It's like, why do I know this cup? And I'm like, Coleman.
Taco Bell.
Yep. Coleman ER. Right there.
Right, you're going to the ER. Yeah. Totally. I'm like Taco Bell. I'm like Gordita. Viva Taco Bell.
No,
that's not even the right word.
I think about my grandmother and renal failure. So, I mean, it is what it is.
But so thinking of technology, I grew up when like as a teenager, cell phones were starting to come out.
You went through the pager era, correct?
I never had a pager. No, I pretended to have a pager.
Oh, yeah.
You could get bubble gum in the store that looked like a pager.
Right on. That Big League Chew, right?
Yes.
That Big League Chew.
I remember I went to school one time with this beeper that I'd got, like paid somebody $5 for it. It probably was stolen. Like this guy got it from this guy. It's from his dad, or it was not working anymore. But like you could put like a AA battery in it, and it's like it's before you recharge electronics, and there's no USBs at the time. You get a pager, and you'd put it on your waistband, take it to school, and you're like, I'm so cool. I got a pager that doesn't work. It's just for looks.
Nobody's paged
and who's gonna page me?
Oh yeah.
And
nobody cares if I live or breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, funny story. I'm on a sidetrack. I went to the bank one day, not to pull banks back in. This is gonna be like a whole
Same
podcast
bank.
of banks, right?
Same bank.
Different bank, local bank.
Okay.
And I cashed my check. I think I was 16. Cashed a check and I forgot to I took the thing out of the drive-thru, got my money out of it. I put it over to the side and I drove off.
Oh.
I get home. I'm like, holy shit, there's still I got the bank canister still in my seat.
Yeah.
I'm sure people do it all the time.
Yeah, they do. My dad did it with me one time.
I'm curious to how many bank canisters get taken home.
Oh, I bet I got a stock of them in the bag.
So one day I was just goofing off in my room upstairs, and I was like, fireworks. I had some old fireworks, and I taped them up, and it looked like dynamite. Mm-hmm. And I found this beeper from when I was like 13.
Yeah. I
was like, okay.
Pre 9/11, mind you.
Yeah. I ran some wires out of the canister, and I closed it, and I made these sticks of dynamite from these fireworks that were taped together. And I put the pager on the outside, and I taped it to it. It looked like a bomb.
Sounds a lot like a bomb, Cody. It doesn't have to look like one. It sounds like one.
So like here I am. I've got like this. I've got what looks like dynamite and a detonation device and a radio device attached to it. I just laid it in my room. One day, the cops call me. The sheriff department. Hey, this is Coleman County Sheriff. This is so and so. We're at your dad's house, and we've got this. Do we need to get the bomb squad over here? Your dad had found this in your room. And like my dad called the fucking cops on me. Your
dad ratted you out.
Yeah, I'm at work. I'm like 16, 17 years old. I'm at work.
Oh, man.
My dad called the fucking cops on me. Because I
don't know if my dad would have. I don't know if my dad would have. There's a chance.
I don't know if it was the oxy that made him do it or the fear of because from
imagine for a son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's
and he's a veteran too, right?
Right.
Correct. Yeah. So
he's like he walks up here and he's like because I think I'd moved out at this time.
Yeah. You're
so like him and my
flashbacks.
mom were like my mom went off the deep end. It's like him and my mom split up. It's like her son has left a freaking bomb up in the attic. And I'm up here looking at it. Is he about to call the pager? Is he going to be the first one to ever call the pager?
Yeah. And then Cody's so excited as he's getting his first page and his first felony.
You know what my scapegoat was?
What's that?
Like, I instantly freak out. I'm like, I go to church. I was like, that's a prop. We had a play at church, and I built it as a prop.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not even going to make that joke. It's too easy.
Because not only does it look like I stole something from a bank, God, now I'm just like my dad. We both stole from the bank.
Chip off the old block.
Yep. Just like out here playing cat. I'm over here screaming at my kid for how to throw the ball in the strike zone. I try to do it, and I can't freaking hit it. So not only do I have a stolen canister from the merchant's bank, but I also have. We're past the 10 years, so they can't come after me for it.
Yeah, God willing. Yeah,
but no,
you might want to Google it.
It looks like I made a freaking bomb.
Yeah.
What would you do if you walk in your kid's room and you found a bomb? Now your kid made a bomb. On
I was gonna say we kind of almost crossed that bridge last week or 2 weeks ago with the propane torch.
Right,
but
mine was just a prop. I was bored.
I don't know. And just if we just want to stay off the beaten trail and talk about pipe bombs and whatnot. So I kind of step into my manager-y role at work and not going to mention it just to keep it, whatever. Either way, Lowe's only had X amount of boxes of screws for my X amount of team that I had. So I started divvying up screws, right? Dump a little out of this box. This one's for that guy. Certain people got boxes. Certain people got a little homemade. Didn't have nothing to keep them in. I was in a hurry, so I just cut off some 1.5 PVC and capped both ends. And I gave everybody a little bitty, well, it was, canister. We'll call it. And, during our meeting, I'm like, all right, 6 of you get the packs and the other 6 get these pipe bombs. They are not pipe bombs.
It's like you're running track and you're handing off.
The baton. The baton of PVC and screws with no wires or anything else.
Luckily, you didn't have a beeper taped to it.
That's it. Yeah,
that's what saved you.
No doubt. And if you get pulled over, just call me. Just call me. Oh man.
So. Yeah, you're going back on topic. It's like I think I've tried to keep my kid away from a lot of social media, a lot of this stuff.
As you should.
It's
and here we are doing a podcast,
right? But it's like we've recently in the last few months allowed like a messenger from like a Facebook Messenger, and
we do that. We do the kids messenger thing, right? Yeah. Notification on that's a real pain in the ass.
You ever looked at there's the way now I wish as a parent you could look at it and like read their messages, but you actually got to log into their account and look at it.
So don't know why, because for our viewers or future viewers, Cody's the tech guru between the two of us.
He used to be. I don't know. I'm still
way more than me, brother. I got good at sending emails about 4 months ago. So that being said, is I'm not keen on, even though, age difference and whatnot, I'm not keen on how all that works. But my 9-year-old has a girlfriend. Not going to mention her name, but some reason or another, it's always like, do you allow this friend to be friends with your son? I don't ever pay him no mind. My wife handles that. But this particular one is, she responds to him as like, no. And the only thing I see, I don't see what led to it or what resulted after it is, no, you're my man. And I'm like, Saturday morning I'm like, what the hell has this led to, or what was the result? So that was a fight this dad chose not to fight. We're just going to let that one work its way out and watch it unfold.
So there's such a balance, and I'm torn on what that balance is, because we're not going to prevent them or protect them from ever being in technology.
No, can't.
Like there's this part of me that's excited because they can type, which means they can spell and talk. So it's like, hey, look, okay, like they can communicate. Like they've went from the babble to the talking to now they're able to actually text and talk.
Yes.
Which is so weird. Like you're ever taking up your kid's texting you from his bedroom, like, hey, can you bring me some milk? Get off your ass and go get it yourself, dude. You can open the milk.
Yeah.
If you can type on an iPad, you can go get a milk. But now they're talking to each other, and it's like I'm starting to see those things where it's like I think our kids were like, we're not friends anymore, and it's like
the technology, dude. It's a give and take. It's just the drama that comes with it. I think is unhealthy,
right?
Because
I worry about the bullying.
Yeah, but the bullying that you experienced in the late '80s, early '90s was personal.
Right.
You had one man to deal with.
Bullying's always been there.
Always, and
But
it always will be.
And it's continuing to change.
But instead of having one guy in your face, at snack time, now you got 15 guys in your face, metaphorically, on the screen, 7 days a week. And then those 15, grow. It's it's like chickens, man. One chicken gets a little clip wing or something, and 15 gang up on them, and then 5 more follow, and then 2, 3 more after that. So it builds, and it's a lot more than just dealing with one bully. Don't know how you deal with that. Don't read comments. Don't read comments. No, I guess maybe. I don't know.
That's the hard part. It's like because they're like, he doesn't want to be friends with me anymore. I'm like, okay,
yeah, good. You might have got out good. But at that time here's a little story. Doing some side work for a guy. He owed me a little money. I kept working with him. He owed me more money the next week. Kept working with him. Owed me more money the next week. And then it rocks on. I just quit working for him because now we're just building up on like, hey, dude, you're just owing me more. Wife says to me, where are you gonna go over there? You gonna go get your money? Well, it's like maybe like $150, $200. I could. And I could get in a lot of trouble and lead to this or get hurt, whatever could happen. Or I could just get out cheap and it cost me $150 to figure out who he was. And now I don't have to know. And now I know and I don't have to put myself in that situation again. So, but 9-year-olds don't have that life experience to make that call.
Back to that knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah. No, dude, you get it when you get older. And the dad I was when I met Jaden is not the dad I am now. Just in 6 short years. You grow quick.
Right.
For sure.
I think that's one of those things like, this last topic I wanted to get into is what do they teach us? Right. And it's like, we don't realize sometimes when you sit back and reflect, it's like, man, like we've learned more from them sometimes than we probably have taught them.
For sure. I guess to just touch on that topic and just personal experience is, in my time I remember being confused between mom and dad, going back and forth. Dad tell you one thing on how to handle a situation and mom will tell you another. Go tell the teacher. It comes from mom. Dad says, square them in the nose, frame them in the mouth. You know what I mean? Don't take no shit. So then you have that battle. And I see a lot of, even myself, whenever I'm communicating with Jay, versus Monday through Tuesday. I may be in a good mood Monday and I may be in a bad mood Tuesday. And the advice I give him from day to day may change depending on my mood. So that being said, is when I do notice it, it's like, hey, I was that confused 9-year-old, not knowing what the hell which foot to start with. So that's time to slow it down, rein it in. Hey boy, use that right foot first.
Right.
That's the right decision to make. Put your personal feelings and emotions aside on that. And just make the best decision and give the best advice for his situation.
Right.
And think about how your situation that may be related to it was similar, but it's not your situation. How would you handle it at 30? Don't think about that. How would you handle it at 9? And what's the options that you had at 9 to handle that? It's a big difference.
Right.
Big difference. And you got to check your ego, I guess, a lot of times on that.
It's like I struggle so much because it's like, and I go back to the expectation of like, am I where I want to be with my kid right now? I can, like he's got this weird thing where he leaves and he doesn't say bye. I look at that and I was like, man, like what did I do to make him do that?
Yeah.
It's just that's who he is.
Yeah.
And
what do they call that? There's a term for that. I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know. Maybe it'll come. Either way. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's like, I see certain things and certain behaviors. I don't know. Like when I look back, it's like I've learned a lot. Yeah, I use coaching for example. There's so many. There was one instance where I had, and I feel so guilty. It's one of the things I feel guilty about because like I had a kid who, great ball player, good attitude most times, and he would do something that would aggravate us, like the coaches. Like he would listen, and he would make a decision on his own. Like he'll run the base, and one base coach would say stop, and he would keep running.
No, I can make it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what? And he made it home safe, and a lot of it's because like I'm being conservative. I want to see the next kid come up to bat. Like I have my own reasonings for what I want to do. And so the kid like hits a home run from errors from the other team. He gets home and he's all excited. The kids are all excited, and as a coach and a dad, I'm like, I wish you'd just listen to me. Like just stop and listen to me. And like somebody told you to do something, you disobeyed. Again, back to like I'm having robots in the Marines, and I'd be like, hey, dude, good job, way to run fast.
Yeah.
Next time,
steal his joy.
Yeah, and next time it's like, but and I always use that, but the coach told you to stop. And I took his joy away.
Home on the next play.
Yeah,
and we could have
bases
bases
like, I told
loaded.
you to do this, and it's like. Then he goes home and he's upset, and it's like his parents are calling me right after the game, be like, "Why aren't you? You're congratulating some kids, but you're not congratulating the other ones." And it's like, and when I listen to that, it's like, I kind of self-reflect, and it's like, I'm giving correction and congratulations or good job, but correction at the same time.
Build them up and knock them down.
You know what the kid listens to the most? The coach ain't happy with me. The coach is mad at me. Sure. He said I did a bad job. I hit a home run and he was mad at me.
He didn't hear hey man, I appreciate you running hard, but
right. So it's like that's something I've really learned is I've got to separate those two. Yeah. Hey buddy, good job. Sure. And then 15 minutes later, be like, hey, next time you're up to bat, hey, before you go to bat, I should be like, hey buddy, listen, when the coach tells you to stop. And then I've learned, more is like help them understand why. Like sometimes we forget to teach the reason, and then it's like the coach just doesn't want me to run the bases. But no, hey,
explain the big picture.
Yeah, big picture. Hey, buddy, you need to. Hey, we want to make sure so can get up to bat, and sometimes we want you to stay, so you're not trying to get out. It's not a risk. We're up by 4 points. We don't need to risk a third out. I want so and so to bat. Little Jimmy's up to hit, and he's not got to hit all season.
That's it. Yeah, let's get him on base, dude.
Let him get on base, and you're probably going to score after he runs to first because they're going to throw him out or try to throw him out.
Stop on third, dude. We got you next play. He's either going to get on or get out. One of the two. Either way, you're in. So relax and trust the process.
And then I think one of the other things that's as a dad that's really hurt personally is I screamed a lot, and I've worked on that. But you'll ask your son, it's like, I'll scream, and then he'll get scared. I'll raise my voice, and it immediately goes to a scare. Like I don't hit my kids. I'm not abusive, right?
Me either. But
and it's like you want to be respected as a dad.
You do.
Sometimes you raise your voice. And like the Marines are like your voice and tone changes how you are, how people react. You say fall in, and which is where everybody get in a line,
nut to butt
in a formation. Yeah, and it's like the louder you make it, the faster they do it. So,
and the more emphasis it puts.
Yeah, it's tone. Like I'm like, hey, get in line. Okay, they're gonna like half-assedly get in line. But if I'm like, get in line, it's like they're all in line. So,
and the story I always use on that is, I hope I've done a good job, but just to let future viewers know, and I got a little bit of a potty mouth, huh, Cody? Yeah, would you say sometimes, so?
But I think it's gotten better. I don't know if I've rubbed off on you or what. But maybe help me. You started helping me coach.
Maybe. I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. But I'm going to die on this hill too. Is pianos falling out of the sky? Would you rather me whisper in a soft, subtle tone to, "Hey, Cody, there's a piano falling. You need to move."
Yeah.
Or you want me to say, "Get the out of the way"? You know what I mean? Like, what do you want me to move?
Been wanting to use this soundboard.
Yeah, you know, you gotta beat me. You gotta beat me. You gotta beat me. We'll get it on the edit. We'll get it on the edit.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a time and a place for it, and you know, when you're in your early 20s and you work construction and whatnot, there's every time's a good time. But then you have some kids and start going to school events and sporting events and coaching and stuff, and you realize, hey, I can't drag my knuckles everywhere I go. So
what would you say the biggest lesson? You know, because I probably should have put some thought in this. I'm going to talk about it on a podcast. I'm over here thinking, now I'm like having brain farts of like, well, what's I going to talk about? What is my biggest lesson? But you know, like, what would you say your biggest lesson? What is if I would put you on the spot here? What do you think you've learned the most?
I used to pray for patience, and my mother told me one time that this apparently it's a wise tale. Maybe it's in the Bible. I'm not very educated, but I do believe is you never pray for patience, and the reason being is the Lord's going to put more on your plate than you can handle, and that's going to teach you to be patient. And by God, I got it. And so, you know, everything I prayed for, I'm getting, and I'm not getting in the way. You know, my mother was right on that. I'll give her that much. Is I prayed for patience, and I have received probably more than I would have. But at the same time, his blood pressure is pretty high, and I'm learning how to manage it. So that's making me more patient. It's just patience, right? You know. You don't have to be quick to respond. You can tell somebody you'll answer them tomorrow. I don't have to give you an answer today,
right?
You know, I don't have to respond to your wrongs right now. I can respond to your wrongs later this evening,
right?
Or in the morning tomorrow. Problems don't go away. That's the great thing about problems. They're always there tomorrow, and you can deal with them then. So, patience. That's my answer on that.
Yeah, you know, I'm struggling with an answer for this because you go through stages, and like I heard a song on the radio a couple weeks ago. It's one I shared with you the other day. It's talking about time.
Yeah.
You know, and
we ain't getting no more of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I'm going through some points now where it's like there's a lot of stuff where I get, you know, hey, would you do this, Dad? Hey, when you do this, and it's like, I'm not right now, buddy. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, maybe tonight. You know, even last night, it's like, hey, he wanted to play a video game with me. You know, and well, our plans changed, and you know, we didn't really have plans. You know, not making you feel bad. I'm like, hey, you came over after the ball game, and shame on you. He had company come over, but it's like, but that one-on-one, you know, he loves video games. He wanted to do what he loves, and he wanted me to participate in that. And I haven't all weekend. You know, it's like, oh crap, here it is. We're 48 hours into this, and all he wanted to do is play an hour of Minecraft or No Man's Sky just with me. He just wanted to do that with me. And I didn't. I haven't. And so I get a lot of guilt. You know, I feel like crap. It's like, man, that's all I want to do. So tomorrow I'd be like, hey, let's play some video games, buddy.
Sure. So you would say, for what I take from that, you would say is more discipline on the time that you do have. And not to mention,
I've got to respect the time, right?
You have to respect the time, but at the same time, you can't hold yourself to that high. You should, but you should. You shouldn't feel guilty about it.
Right.
You know, because you are human, dude. You're human. You don't have the energy for everything.
Now I'm over here having brain farts. I'm a very forgetful person.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
Names, words, songs.
So you and the point I was making is you're feeling guilty for not taking that time and making that time and this and that. But at the same time,
it's prioritizing that time.
Yeah, and you should, but you're gonna screw up. So yeah, I don't think you should feel guilty on that.
It's something time. You know, life's a lot of things, but it's not long enough.
That's true.
You know, and I think about that, you know, like I use my dad, for example. It's like you take for granted those times, and you know, I think some of it was
I thought we locked that door.
Yeah. We're impeding on too. You're live right now, big guy.
Yeah. Speaking of the children's.
What's wrong?
Well, you're live.
Yeah, it's going to. It's broken. Yeah, I gotta put some glue in it.
Oh, you promise? All right, get on now. Here, lock that door.
You're good, buddy.
At least I was.
Yeah.
They've been wanting to be on this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Oh, it already is, big guy.
Yeah.
So.
Famous.
Right?
Famous. That's my 5 seconds of fame right there. Oh, man.
You know, and But it's like, I don't know. We take that time for granted, and it's like right now, it's like they're in there playing with each other. It's like they want us to play with them, but they don't.
They want to be in here with us, and they don't understand. It's like therapy, dude. It's like, yeah, man. Yeah, holler at me in 20 years, probably 15, 20 years, and it's like, hey, dude, you're gonna be seeking out the same thing, dude. You come to Daddy and tell me all about it.
Right.
Can't wait.
I'm going to use that. That song's been heavy on me. It's like, it's like 1 minute, you're talking about kids, and then you have kids. Next thing you know, like they're wearing your number up on the home plate, about to hit a ball. And you fast forward, and it's like they're having kids, and before you know it, you're sitting in a bar with them.
Yeah. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
dude, that's
and then fast forward, and it's like, damn, they're going to be putting you in the ground.
So I can use my granddad for an example. Is since my grandmother passed away here last year, I see it a lot of him, dude, just begging just to go do something with someone, just lonely. And it's like, man, it's like you want to raise them to do all these good things and these right things, and not talking highly of myself, but I think I've done a fair job of doing the right things. But guess what happens when you do the right things? Your time is consumed. So, you don't necessarily have the time for your parents when you get this age, or your grandparents and whatnot. So what does that mean when they do this?
Yeah.
Are we going to be lonely when we're old? Damn, it's a deep subject.
It is, because like how many things, like, are we trying to say everything that we didn't have from a dad that we're trying to make?
Maybe. Yeah, I think you got to pick the high notes and then lose the low ones. At least that's what I try to do. My dad was rough and tough.
Right.
And I like to think I am too, but I like to think I'm just a little softer than he was.
Right. So have you ever done anything with either one of your kids that's brought tears to your eyes when you did it?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. How about saving Jaden off the waterfall, dude? How about that? Yeah.
Well, that's a lot more extreme of a moment than I'm thinking of.
But still, same concept. Jaden did not cry when we took him to pre-K. I was tired. I was working third shift at the time, or second shift maybe, and could care less. I was like, it's a babysitter to me.
Right.
But that first day of kindergarten,
gotcha.
Yeah, bad. And Kendall was over there just, stone wall, like, recording me, taking pictures.
But you're the baby.
Yeah, because the year before I had similar reverse roles. But all the time, dude. And I don't let him see them, all of them.
I had
some
one.
of them he does, most of them I don't.
I think last year. And like today, we played catch with our kids.
Yeah,
you take it for granted. Like you're in a spot where like what I'm going through is not what you're going through, right?
Yeah,
we're only a decade difference, but like last year, I got emotional throwing a baseball with my kid, and it was kind of like, and I'm trying to picture in his mind, he's like, "Dude, you're being a baby." But if I could go back and do anything with my dad, it's to go play catch.
Yeah, go throw a ball, man,
dude. And I feel bad, and what I think makes me feel bad is like my dad wanted me to do it more because I sucked at baseball because I wouldn't go out and practice. Fast forward 30 years, I'm like, Lucas, you better get out here and do this, buddy. Hey, if you want to be better at basketball, go shoot a basketball. You want to be better at throwing a baseball, throw a baseball. And I look back, and it's like, that's all my dad's like. He'd go work 10 hours, come home. After an hour drive from Birmingham, and he'd put a glove on and say, "Hey, you want to go throw?"
You'd be like, "Nah,
no, I want to eat potato chips to my fat ass, Dad. I want to go play Super Nintendo."
Yeah. So I caught a lot of grief for not riding from my dad. Just in my experience, is like we got mini bikes for Christmas one year. I bought 3 of them. I had 2 step siblings, and I always caught shit for not riding mine. Like, oh yeah, he'll never ride his. But now that I'm almost 30, it's like, well, damn, Dad, I was with you. We was working all the time. It was like, like by no means would he have said, you can't go ride it. But if I would have went and rode it, I wouldn't have been with him.
Right.
Work was our quality time.
Right. I never had that. I wanted a dirt bike. I had a friend or a neighbor who had a dirt bike. So jealous. And you know what? And then I take my kid to the Honda shop. I'm like, hey, pick you out one of these dirt bikes. He's like, no, I want the 4-wheeler for 14-year-olds and up. And they're like, we can't sell it to you.
Yeah. So I know a guy. And we won't talk about him on air, but I know a guy.
And I don't want to put him on I don't want to put him in a 4-wheeler. I have a 4-wheeler. He can ride my 4-wheeler. Actually, he's too small for my 4-wheeler, but I want him on a dirt bike. I think a dirt bike's because I can't get him to drive a bicycle or ride a bicycle. It's like I think a dirt bike would be good, but it's like I wanted it. I tried to give it to him. He's like, I don't want it.
Yeah,
that blows my mind.
Yeah, but you didn't have all this fun. Like Legos and PlayStations and tablets. Right. You didn't have that to occupy your time. You wanted.
I had Legos, but it was like I only had like a few sets of Legos. Now it's like, like and that's
you're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
It's like it's like if I can go spend $20 on beer, I can buy my kid a $20 Lego. Well, I go buy my kid enough $20 Legos. Now he has more Legos than he has to build. Yeah. He doesn't even care about Legos anymore. I'm like, what kind of kid is like? He's my kid and he doesn't like Legos. That hurts.
And I know we've had this conversation too. I think this would be a great one to close it out on too. And I don't think we'll reach a good verdict on it, but it's the light. You got to have dark with that to have light. You got to have good to have bad. You got to have bad to have good. Is you're not going to appreciate that dirt bike until you don't have shit in the house. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I've been so close to bringing the dumpster up to the door, just getting rid of everything.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it. I talked with Jay and I'm like, hey man, dude, I have a mattress in your bed in the bedroom and that's it.
I enjoyed just a mattress on the floor.
Yeah, no, that's best sleep you'll get. But when it's jailhouse style and you don't have any laces in your shoes,
you don't hear the bed rock. Now we're getting way unfiltered.
Yeah, fair.
That's for another episode.
It's like, he don't want the dirt bike because he has everything inside to keep him busy. Yep. And then when he goes outside, if you took all those inside things away, well, he's got a million things outside keeping the dirt bike. He don't need nothing to occupy us. Whereas maybe when you was a kid and didn't have nothing at all, you was like, dude, I'd love to cruise around this some bitch like I was in the motocross.
Like there's like the kid last night he got hot on basketball. Like he came over one time and it's like his dad forces him to be outside. Like he's an outside kid. Yeah. And then he came over here one time and it's like, hey, why don't you go look for worms? And he was excited about it. Yeah. My kid's like, worms? Yeah. But then he got excited when he found a worm.
Yeah. Same kid took your kid out of my house when we had a slumber party. Yeah. I was like, hey, we're going fishing, dude. Let's find some worms. Yeah.
And it's like, that made me feel so good. And but his dad's probably like, yeah, it's just normal life. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
and it was normal for me growing up. But now too, is if you put Jaden outside and was like, hey, boy, go catch a fish. Here's everything you need except bait. He'd be like, where did I find that?
Right?
Yeah.
And I grew up, I was an outside kid, right? I'd go fish. I had a pond in front of my house I'd go to all the time. If I didn't have bait, I'd get cheese, hot dogs, or I'd find a leaf, catch a brim, cut it up, catch some catfish.
Buy any sausages soaked for bait, by the way. They don't stay on the hook.
A little too soft?
Yeah, very soft.
But
it's a different world, dude. And I think that's what probably makes it a little bit more harder for us than necessarily our parents is, like, how do you adapt when you don't have nothing to compare it to?
Right.
Is what choice do you make when there's never been a choice made before you?
Right. I struggle because I'm afraid I put a golden spoon in my kid's mouth in some aspect. Maybe not a silver spoon, but it's
easy road for sure.
Yeah, and it's like, is it going to make him weak, soft, and he's super smart,
which is paying dividends,
right?
And could pay more.
And my wife and myself, I was, I'll say that for another episode for my history, but we're both smart. He's smart, and it's like he's going to have he has an opportunity for a good life
for sure. But
it's like, am I messing it up right now because I'm making him too soft? And then it's like I make it too hard for him, and he resents me.
Yeah,
there's no answer. That's always tell people there's not one right way to be a parent.
No, there's a million wrong ones though.
Right,
a million.
And how my kids raised is not the way that I can tell you how to raise your kids. I have no business telling you how to raise your kid.
Fair.
Now I may disagree and agree with whatever. But it doesn't make you a better parent or a worse parent because my opinions are different.
Yeah, and that's what makes good friends in the similar situation so important. Is mine and your kid, and we can probably both agree, are daylight and dark different. as far as personalities,
Everything.
And physical abilities or what have you. Just completely daylight and dark different. They both make good grades, so they do have that in common.
Right?
Yeah, they're both
But
geniuses.
for the last few hours, it's like
No, man.
they're getting
peas
along.
peas in a pod. But when you're like, man, I don't know what to do with Lucas, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with Jaden. I mean, you can get together and have a glass of liquor and just feel better about it. Not necessarily like guide each other in the right direction.
There's
but
no
just
judgment.
none.
There's no
And you figuring it out as you go, and especially when even though they are yours and you've taught them everything and they're a lot like you, they're still, like you said earlier, they're their own person. They're gonna be who they're gonna be,
Right.
and you just got to guide them to be the best version of what they're gonna be. You can't change that necessarily. So yeah. You just got to roll with the punches, I guess. And having a good buddy to back that up is makes it a little bit more tolerable.
right. Makes you feel like you're not being bad, right?
Well, and you're not alone.
You got to have like a vote of confidence sometimes, right?
Yeah, and
like they can get A's and B's or A's and
like when you want
be
to
all-stars
strangle
on the football
yours
team,
and I
it's
want to
like-
strangle mine. It's like, oh man, I felt bad for wanting to really throttle him earlier, but
Right.
it makes me feel better because you think the same thing.
and I have to check myself. Like my kids got straight A's in school.
Mm.
And it's like sometimes I have to guilt myself. I was like, do I feel bad because it's like he can't throw the ball the hardest, or he's not.
Yeah.
He's not. He gets hurt easy, or and it's like as a dad, it's like, oh, those are man things, right? Like I'm looking at him. I'm trying to make him out as a man when he's really a boy.
Yeah.
What really matters in a boy's life is he enjoying life? Is he fed? Having a good time in life?
Yeah.
And just
Low
does he feel
stress,
safe? Right?
High carbs.
Yeah.
That's about it.
You can't be mad at him. You can't be mad at him for being a boy. You can't be mad at him for being who he is. And I think that's the hardest lesson I struggle to learn is I put those expectations sometimes of I want to treat him like a man when he's 8, 9, 10 years old.
And while we are recording, I got a great topic for future episodes because we're about to be balls deep in the subject.
Yeah.
Metaphorically, of course. It's puberty. We are knocking.
We're on the edge of that.
Dude, we're knocking on the door, dude, and it's about to get so much worse. Just think back to when you were like 13, 12, 13. It's about to get rough.
And I think puberty's hitting earlier on these new generations.
Yeah, no doubt. It's in the chicken.
It's all in the chicken.
In the chicken, man. It's the steroids.
And you got mine. I don't eat meat, but that's some good chicken. I'm gonna eat some pork.
It's the chicken and it's damn Chick-fil-A. You know what I mean? It's Lord's chicken and all, but Lord's putting a little something extra in it. It's that extra spice they put on it. It's got to be because I wasn't nowhere near where they're at this age. But
I barely got takeout when I was a kid.
Yeah, maybe I was a late bloomer. Who knows? But the hormones are about to start raging in both of our households, and I think we just need to buckle our seatbelts and hold on tight.
Well, man, I think this has been a fun first episode.
Absolutely, man. Had a blast.
On and off topic, but I think we got a lot to go. So this is a new journey for us. All I got to say is this is 2 presidential terms in the making. We made it happen. And
enjoyed every minute of it, dude. It's
right.
Insurance and therapy sessions are expensive, and this one's
right.
This one's a freebie.
Well, I'm gonna give some credits out to Mr. Grant Day here for the music. He
appreciate you, sir. You can tread.
He a couple years ago worked with him. He was like, hey, make me some music, but he come through for me, and 2 years later, I think I finally made it happen. So. But on that note, hey, look, I'm excited to get this podcast started. Look forward to making some upcoming episodes. I appreciate it, Chris. It's been
Absolutely,
fun.
dude. Salute. That it. Stay classy.